So picking a roommate is always an interesting topic. Of course, you want to find someone that you're friends with, and a lot of times, especially high school students going to university for the very first time, they might look at who else in their school or they know is going to the same university, and they may pair up with them to be roommates. But a lot of times you also hear that a lot of roommates fall out, or people switch roommates or flatmates or condo mates or apartment mates every other year because of XYZ reasons. So why do people switch roommates? And what makes living with a roommate so difficult? So if you think about living at home, you are living with the people that you grew up with. You probably have family customs that you do at home. You probably eat dinner at a particular time. You probably have dishes that you eat often. And you probably have different living habits that you're so accustomed to already with your parents, with your siblings, with your grandparents, etc. So we often overlook at those living habits and those customs that we're so accustomed to. So when you're living with a new person, regardless of whether you are friends with the person pre-existingly, for example, if that person's your best friend, those living habits is still going to be an issue because you don't know, what your living habits is going to be perceived by your friend and vice versa. So your friend might be the type of person to wake up 3 a.m. every single morning and take a really loud shower and play loud music, whereas you might be a night owl and you don't sleep until 2 a.m. So at 3 a.m. when your roommate is showering and playing loud music, you're really in deep sleep and you find that really, really annoying. And that's the true reason why a lot of people in university switch roommates year after year, is because they can't find someone who they can jive with in terms of living habits. It takes a lot of it's a huge transition when you move in with someone else for the very first time without knowing how they live, and you don't get to know that until you're actually living with them on a day-to-day basis, until you see how they are at home. You might be a clean freak and your best friend might be really messy and leave messes all around the kitchen, and that would drive you insane. You might is a really studious person, or you have a lot of virtual meetings, but your roommate is a gamer and takes up all the Wi-Fi, so every time you're trying to have a virtual meeting, it lags. There are a lot of examples and a lot of reasons why people fall out in the end, and it's not so much about personality differences, it's definitely about your living habits. So if you're looking to find a roommate for university to live off campus, just know that there is a possibility for you in 2-3 months time into living with each other that you might end up hating the person, not because they're not a good person. You can still be friends with them, but you just probably hate living with them as a roommate. And it is certainly not uncommon throughout my undergrad years where people find roommates, etc. And I see a lot of people who are best friends and they thought they could live together, but they couldn't. So the year later, they decided to part ways and find different roommates, but they can still become, really close friends still because they just hated each other as a cohabitant, and not so much because of their personality or that they were a bad person to begin with.